we're going to put the boxing to the side for just 1 second, and we're going to go back to yesterday's topic, which was top 5 baseball movies of all time, because this one, to me, it was an absolute no-brainer to put it on my list, and that is the movie called The Sandlot. Crazy that it turned 30 years old this year, which it was blowing my mind. But Patrick Renna, who was, Perloff and I maintain, the star of this movie. The star of this movie is Patrick Renna. He's been in many things since then. He played Hamilton Ham Porter, the great Hambino. Now he's got a HambinoAthletics.com is where you can find the clothing line, which is awesome. And Patrick Renna joins us now. Patrick, thanks so much for the time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Man.
I appreciate being on your list, Maggie. I'm pretty sure I looked at the list and I'm not on someone else's list. So.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, one of the points of distinction was, I mean, look at the 5 movies I have on there. They're all classics.
They're all solid.
There's no shame in being left off that list.
No,
there's not. There's not.
You got to call him out on it, Patrick, because
I did.
We both watched Sandlot again last night.
Yeah.
You have all the best lines. You've got all the great close-up reaction shots. While you were filming the movie, did you realize even then at a young age, like, man, I am really getting, like, I am keeping this movie, like, moving along. I am the heartbeat of this movie.
Well, I was 13 and everyone else was 12 and 11, so I just pulled him aside and was like, that's not your line anymore. That's my line. So I just, give them all a hard time. I think, it was funny because that main scene where I'm having the altercation with the bad guy with Phillips, that wasn't actually supposed to be my scene. It was written for Benny, the star of the movie. And I think because the director throughout the process of the film Benny became this hero and this legend, and he didn't want him to be sitting there, saying, you eat your mama's toe jam or whatever the lines were. Then he said, who could say it? Ham. But yeah, I mean, I think we all had such a great time, and it is such an ensemble cast that it just kind of all riffed off each other and had a great time doing it.
Patrick, I watched it last night as well. I noticed you have a pretty decent swing. I was wondering, a lot of guys did. Was there coaching?
Thank you for noticing that. People ask me, hey, who played ball? Who was the best? And I always say myself, but then I fess up. And Mike Vitar, who played Benny, he actually played high school ball and probably could have gotten a scholarship to college. But I joke that there's a pretty big drop-off after me and Mike, though. It goes Mike, then me, and then everyone else needed some coaching. That half of them would kill me for saying that. But Brandon, who was the pitcher, he was halfway decent. And Chauncey, who played Squints, had, some, backyard skills. But we started the whole filming process with 2 weeks of just baseball camp. And I sort of did have the most background besides Mike. But, yeah.
Patrick Renna is joining us right now. He was, of course, the great Hambino, Ham from The Sandlot. He's got HambinoAthletics.com is where you can find the clothing line. You can check out his Instagram page. It's got all the fun stuff there. And you've also gotten to, shoot some cool commercials with Mike Trout and, Perloff and I's all-time favorite, Ken Griffey Jr. What was that experience like?
Oh, that was amazing. I mean, I had met Mike Trout at the 25th anniversary of Sandlot. We went to Angel Stadium, a bunch of us. So I had met him once, but hadn't seen him in 5 years. And we had to film in Arizona because he was there for I forget what it's called, but the World, when they played, Japan and
World Baseball
in the
Classic.
finals. Yeah, World Baseball Classic. So he was out there training for that. So we filmed out there. Ken Griffey Jr., I was so bummed, wasn't there for the day of shooting. So they had a Ken Griffey Jr. double, which it was pretty trippy because the dude looked like Ken Griffey Jr. 20 years ago. So you would see him halfway across the field and you got chills, even though it wasn't really Ken Griffey Jr., but it felt like it was. And then, so they just did a pickup shot with him later. But just doing that whole thing with Mike Trout was awesome. I mean, it was amazing. And then to watch him, go on to the finals right after that, I felt like he was my buddy. Like, I was like, that's my dog right there.
That's what we feel all the time. Now you've been part of two things where two of the greatest players ever have been superimposed into something. It was Babe Ruth and Sandlot, and then Ken Griffey Jr. Shooting a commercial.
Right. Have any players ever come up to you and said Sandlot's a big inspiration to them?
Yeah, it happens a lot, and it's kind of it's very weird and humbling and all things mixed into one. When we were at Dodger Stadium for the 25th, Matt Kemp came out like almost in tears and said, "You guys are the reason I started. One of the reasons I decided to play baseball." And you're like, "Bro, I've been watching you. You're our hero." And it's just that's a very strange thing to hear. It's like you watch these guys and they're larger than life, and most of them are younger than me now, but they still feel like men and adults, and like I still feel like a kid around them.
Patrick Renna is joining us. He played Ham, the great Hambino in Sandlot. You can check out a clothing line, hambinoathletics.com. So this movie still resonates 30 years later. What makes this movie great? What makes a great sports movie? Because that's what Perloff and I are doing all this week, great sports movies by sport. What makes a great sports movie? What makes Sandlot great 30 years later?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, gosh, you'd love to be able to know exactly the recipe so that you could replicate it over and over. But I think there's a couple things. One is I think Sandlot's about inclusion and not, all of us sort of don't care about Scotty Smalls in the beginning, and then this new kid comes to town and we kind of embrace him. So it's like that like anti-bully thing where you're just like, we're here to play and these are our boys and let them in and teach them. I think it's also because it's about baseball, which already is that sort of nostalgic sport out of all of them.
Yeah.
It is the most nostalgic. So like you notice all the best sports movies are usually baseball movies. So it's kind of got that built-in thing. And I think first and foremost, it's kind of a time that we all miss, don't we? It's this AI thing's a little creepy, and it's like, Skynet is right around the corner, and we're all behind iPads too much. And, so it's about getting out there and playing baseball, because honestly, there's nothing a computer screen can do for you that, you know what I'm trying to say, that sports doesn't. And it's so much more about what life is, to get out there and get dirty and play and mess around. Like, there's no time like I've had like playing sports that those are just the most enjoyable moments of my life, for sure.
Isn't it interesting? Your movie came out in 93. A League of Their Own was 92. Field of Dreams, 89. There was this flurry of incredible baseball movies.
That Major League, I think, was 89 too.
Yeah, Major League. Natural was 8. But we were looking at our list, and we didn't have any modern movies like this. Feels like they don't make them like this anymore.
I don't think they do, and it's too bad. I hope they do. That it's funny you say all that too, because I think of those movies as so old, yet they're like a year before the
Yeah.
But I go, wow, yeah, oh my God, 89. 2 years, 3 years before. But yeah, they don't really make it like that. I agree, it's different. They should. They will. They'll make another one again. There'll be something.
Patrick
Maybe
Renna.
It'll be the Disney Sandlot sequel.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm surprised we don't have one yet. I'm surprised you're not starring in it. Patrick Renna was an actor, of course, on The Sandlot, is an actor. The Sandlot also has HambinoAthletics.com, which you have to check out. He played Ham in The Sandlot. Okay, we're going to play one of your iconic lines. You're killing me. Okay, let's play it for the audience.
You're killing me, Smalls.
I mean, how often does this get repeated to you on a daily, weekly basis?
Yeah, it happens a time or two, but it's great because, hey, why else are you an actor if not to like entertain people and have a lasting effect, So it kind of, and again, when you get to meet all these sports players through something like that, it's humbling and it's really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I didn't write the line, so I just delivered it, and for it to become like that is pretty special.
Patrick, I was telling them about the X-Files episode where you're a vampire. Do people come up to you about that one? Because it is a wild, wild episode. I'll bet you people recognize you and call you out on the street for that too.
They do. That's another one I get a lot. And it's funny you say that so I actually just finished filming a movie up in Canada. I filmed X-Files about 20 years ago in Vancouver, and I was just in Toronto, and Luke Wilson's in this movie. So Luke Wilson plays the head vampire, and I'm like his deputy. I haven't seen him in 20 years, but we saw each other, and I was like, ooh, I wonder if Luke Wilson's going to remember me. And he was like, oh, hey, man. And he even said, that X-Files episode we did, it was a wild one. People love it, which is cool coming from Luke Wilson, where you're like, dude, you're, Luke Wilson. Love you, buddy. That is definitely one I get a lot. Yeah. And this movie's cool, though. Hopefully it is kind of, because you're just talking about sports movies and they don't make them. It's called You Gotta Believe, and it's about the 2002 Little League World Series and the run that the Texas team made during that time. And it's pretty crazy because they made it to the semifinals, and they were a little bad. I don't think they were bad news bears. They weren't quite that bad because obviously they were all stars, but they shouldn't have made it to where they made it. And so it's kind of this cool, heartwarming baseball movie. Luke Wilson's in it. Greg Kinnear stars in it.
Nice.
So we'll see. Hopefully the director is really good. So maybe that'll be that movie we're all looking for.
Fantastic. Great. We'll have you back on to talk about that when it comes out. HambinoAthletics.com is where you can go to get some of the swag from Ham's character from Sandlot. Last one for you. So we did baseball yesterday. Now we're on to boxing. This has become now a little controversial amongst the show. Is Pulp Fiction a boxing movie?
Whoa. No. I mean, I don't think it's a boxing movie. It definitely has some great boxing stuff in it, but no. Pulp Fiction's a Quentin Tarantino movie. That's its own genre. Like, I don't think that's a boxing movie.
Yeah, I mean,
did I answer that right?
Yes. When you say, what does Marcellus Wallace?
That are gonna kill me?
No, you say, what does Marcellus Wallace look like? Nobody was saying he looks like a prize fighter. That's not the line.
No. I don't think it's a boxing movie at all. I mean, in order for it to be a sports movie, that has to be at least like the B plot or some sort of through line.
I think
because even Sandlot, you could say, is not a baseball movie, but it's at least the B plot. If the A plot is friendship, summer, the time of your life, and the B plot is it can't fall to C or D plot.
Wait, but Maggie put On the Waterfront as a boxing movie on her list.
Put On the Waterfront.
That's closer for sure than Pulp Fiction, but I still would say it's a little. I don't know. That's I guess Brando trumps that one.
Yeah.
Trumps all.
I'm like, it's Brando and Kazan. Like,
it's a Brando.
It's getting on the list. Well, now look at us just doing a movie podcast. Okay, Patrick
Renna.
I
love it. Let's keep going.
Thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate you lending your expertise and star power to our list. Again, go to HambinoAthletics.com is where you can find more. And we're looking forward to your next movie. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it should be fun. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you so much.